Welcome to Gym Bag Talk Podcast, episode 15. Looks like all the buttons are hit this time.
Yeah, I mean, I can hear you pretty loud and clear.
Okay, good.
For now.
Yeah, until we have some more technical difficulties.
Until I decide I'm not going to do another podcast till we trade CJ McCollum and Dame.
That bad, huh?
It's
that angry?
We're doing this podcast as the Blazers are playing, and they're down 26 right now. So we just decided, I think we have enough analysis to go on.
Like, at what quarter during that game did you realize, Trailblazers suck so bad?
The second, when they blew like a 9-point lead and turned it to like 24 overnight.
No, it's not even overnight. They were down by 9 going into the second half, and then before the third quarter hit the 5-minute mark, they were down by 25.
The Blazers are officially... I can't even say it. They are so bad.
Like,
Can we talk about this another time? Just never again.
Let's talk about a high note. We did talk about it on last week's episode, but for some reason, audio files got corrupted.
That happens sometimes. We're Russian. Things get hacked, you know? It's not all fun and games being Russian.
You know, when the podcast started to tank, it decided to tank for the Blazers.
Oh, there you go. That's a good analogy. A good analogy. We Cream City the podcast. That's why it didn't go as well as it could have.
Yeah, some Trojan horse Cream City the file.
That happens. My dad always used to ask me, why is there a Trojan horse cream sitting all over the computer? And sometimes you just gotta take it.
You don't have an explanation, you just gotta show them. So the Oregon Ducks, they played in the Rose Bowl. They played against Wisconsin. That they came in ranked 8th. Oregon Ducks were 6th, which tells you how close we actually were in getting to the college playoffs. Heartbreaker watching the Rose Bowl game, but at least it was a cherry on top of a melted pile of ice cream.
Yeah, no, I mean, a Rose Bowl win's a Rose Bowl win, especially for living in Oregon, living on the West Coast. Winning in the Rose Bowl is huge. It's one of those kind of feel good. This is going to be very good for the rest of the year moments. It's not the college football playoff, and watching a 6 vs 8 team, it might as well have been. But I don't know. It was nice to see Justin Herbert go out like that.
Yeah, it definitely. I think it drove his stock up a lot higher for the draft. And you and me both talked about it extensively before, extensively, the two podcast episodes before. But we definitely want him to go to a good team, kind of make him look a little bit better.
Well, Tua just said that he's going to the draft. So he's skipping out his final year in Alabama. But here, his stock is dropping because of his hip injury. So, I mean, that's big news for Herbert. But still, you're looking at the draft order, which is already set. And you have the Chargers right there at number 6, which I think is a perfect spot for Justin Herbert to fall to.
Yeah, and we're watching a lot of draft predictions and mock drafts. And, Justin Herbert is going to the Chargers most likely.
And it seems like Joe Burrows is a lock to be number 1. Everywhere we've looked. Yeah. I don't know. I think he's going to be a Bengal.
Unless he's like caught doing heroin or slapping someone.
I don't know if white guys do heroin.
In our circle of friends,
like there's a guy from LSU who's been prepped by his family for the past 18 years.
Completely wrong drug. It's cocaine, guys. My bad.
He might be on either a mixture of cocaine and bang,
LSD and ecstasy.
Yeah, whatever. We'll have to do a poll. I don't know what white people do anymore. Tide Pods. He could be on Tide Pods.
That's very true.
But then again, I don't think an LSU Jesuit prep school kid is going to be. I don't know. How do we get to heroin in number 1 pick? That could happen. He could be the biggest bust of all time. You're right. Heroin.
We got to think all these modern mumble rap rappers bringing the culture to white kids in college with like soccer moms.
Do you watch Trevor Wallace on YouTube ever?
No, I don't.
He's pretty funny.
Really?
He's pretty I'll give it to him. He has like that stupid AirPod video where he acts like someone with AirPods, and it's hilarious. He has another one with straws and turtles, even more funny.
Oh, I did watch that. You sent it to the group.
It's not bad. You'll get a good laugh out of it for sure.
You know what's not bad either? Seahawks showing the Eagles how to play football.
The Seahawks are literally the definition of they're not bad. Like, it's so... How crazy that the score was 17-9 again. That was kind of cool.
Yeah, that was. I didn't even realize until now.
Really?
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. So they beat the Eagles week 12, 17-9. If you've been living under a rock and you don't know, they beat the Eagles this last week, first match of the playoffs.
17-9.
17-9. So
That's cool. I didn't even realize it. I'm like, hey, cool, 17-9.
I mean, it was a good win for the Seahawks. They didn't let up a touchdown, as ugly as it did look on defense sometimes. Carson Wentz, obviously being hurt 8 plays into the game, helped a lot. Jadeveon Clowney got a lot of backlash for that. Even got death threats from Eagles fans saying, that's the second time you've ruined our playoff hopes. What the heck's wrong with you, man? I'm going to kill you and your whole family.
Right after I'm done with this Philly cheesesteak.
Which is just outrageous. I mean, just get back to your garbage days on Mondays and Tuesdays, Philly fans. Get back to your cheesesteaks. I'm sure your wife's back there somewhere yelling at you because you don't spend enough time with the kids.
That aren't even yours. We all know.
It's okay. It's okay.
Just accept it.
Philly fans are the worst. Boston fans are better. And I think when you watch sports for a long time, you can kind of distinguish between fans.
Yeah, no. Philly fans and Boston fans are really close in my eyes. It's just, except Boston fans are funny when they yell.
Yeah, exactly. And they're way more like
witty, and
they'll burn the living crap out of you.
And then you just gotta you're just walking away. You're like, you're right. You're absolutely right. But
and then there's Toronto fans who can't talk trash to save their lives. They end up being nice to you while they're talking trash. You're like, oh, why, thank you. My suit does look very nice, You're
like, oh, you got a 3. First one, oh. You're like, oh, yeah.
It's like, that's 1 for 1, my mate. It's just like, well, thanks, man. Thanks. Portland fans are pretty good, I say.
They're dedicated for sure. And the fans
have to be dedicated when you bought season tickets for this year and they're just absolute trash.
Oh, that's true. You're like rubbing your hands. You're like, Whiteside's coming in hot. He's gonna get us all those blocks and rebounds. Yeah, he's the only one getting rebounds on the team.
Okay, he's the only center. he's literally our last center left, which sucks.
Okay, before we jump into the Blazers, let's finish off the Seahawks. Yeah, I'm super pumped about this.
So, I mean, this is as lucky as luck gets. And the Seahawks, if you watch any Seattle games, luck is their middle, and it's the Seattle Lucky Seahawks. I mean, they could easily be a 7-9 team. All their wins have come at most. One game was by 2 possessions. Every other win was by 1 possession. So anything could have happened. Seattle goes into the first week of the playoffs. No Carson Wentz. Luke McCown was the quarterback. This dude was coaching high school football in October. Okay, he was the starting quarterback. Played pretty well for crying out loud, which is kind of scary. Seahawks win, and I was watching football all weekend, man, and that was the boringest game I watched.
That's so true.
There was some good games.
There was that Bills and Texans game.
Yeah, that was the first one of the weekend. And I wanted the Bills to pull that one out so bad. I like the Bills, honestly.
I do too, and the way that they're playing, their quarterback literally played like my life is on the line.
He did, and you can kind of tell because he made some dumb decisions.
Oh, so dumb, like that.
The lateral.
What
was that?
I don't know. And then his teammate, I forgot who.
Pick. But I mean, the last play of the game when you're literally on the 30-yard line, and then you get that penalty, and all you needed was a field goal to win it.
Field goal to tie it.
No, to win, because they got the ball back. Yeah. And then Deshaun Watson gets the ball back. Play of his life, gets sacked by 2 different guys so freaking hard that he kind of stands up from both of them, tosses it 5 yards for a 60-yard gain to end the game.
No, it was literally like watching a car crash happen, and the car that got piled on by 2 other bigger cars kept going.
Fine, yeah. It's just even out on both sides, like a salvaged title car in a Russian dad's shop, and it just kept going. And that was a great way to start the weekend. And then Titans Patriots that weekend, that night. Derrick Henry's absolutely crazy. If you don't know who Derrick Henry is, go look up a highlight reel, because this dude is nuts.
I like how Derrick Henry literally looks like 8-foot tall giant.
Oh, he looks as big as the offensive lineman. And the crazy thing is, he was not getting touched 6-7 yards down the field, and then when he was getting touched, he was carrying dudes another 5 yards.
Yeah. And the only reason why he stopped, it looks like he got tired.
Yeah, 222 yards.
There's a picture of Derrick Henry standing next to Mark Ingram. It is the funniest. It's like Kevin Hart standing next to The Rock.
And Mark Ingram's not a small dude, he's a short dude, but he's not a small dude.
No, like Mark Ingram's like turning to him like, "Daddy, can I get like a extra?"
Wow, Derrick Henry's huge.
Yeah,
I mean, he has to be up there with one of the bodies you love to trade with. I mean, to be like 230 pounds, 6'4", and have that much muscle to run that fast, sign me up.
man.
I would tear it into the Patriots as well.
I don't know what his family fed him, but like horse steroids, but that's the body.
Oh, look up where he's from. That probably has something to do with it. But it was awesome seeing Tom Brady, kind of slip. Obviously he didn't have the help he usually does. So
Did you just American?
Just American?
Crimson Tide?
Well, it doesn't say like if he was born like that.
No, just as American.
Wow. Go figure. But then we had, what was it, Sunday morning, Saints Vikings.
That was a surprise. That was really surprising. The Vikings pulled out a win. The Saints lost. That was a lot of people put their money on the Saints.
Oh yeah, I would have completely. I would have. Was it a pass interference at the very end? I do believe so. It definitely was. But are you gonna call that the last play of the game? And they went and reviewed it. I think it's okay. I think the Saints can't blame the refs when you let 80 yards go by. But the NFL does have to change its overtime rules. I think the overtime rules are so bad. You shouldn't base the fate of a team based off a coin flip. He says heads or tails. Team who wins the coin toss gets to choose to receive or defend. And if obviously you're going to choose receive, because if you score a touchdown the very first drive of the game, you win, which is terrible.
No, it really is.
The other team should at least have a chance to get it back.
I mean, it's like the NBA going, all right, first team to score 11.
Yeah, that'd be terrible.
Yeah, it's like,
that'd be terrible.
What are we doing? Pickup game right here?
And I don't like college football either, where you start at the 25-yard line and you just go at it, kind of like free kicks in soccer, and touchdown. I would rather have it just be an extra 10 minutes. Extra 10 minutes, do the coin toss, play an extra quarter. In the regular season, if it's tied, it's tied, because games can end in a tie. But in playoff football, you keep on going.
Yeah, no, it makes more sense that both teams have the equal opportunity to score.
Exactly, because if you have a good offense, like we didn't even get to see Drew Brees get on the field. Drew Brees is one of the best. Well, that's very up for debate, but he does have the most touchdowns in NFL history and the most yards in NFL history. So, therefore, you can probably call him the best quarterback of all time statistically.
I'm sure some like neck breathers like, oh, Tom Brady over here.
6 titles when you get carried by Randy Moss for 3 of them. I mean.
But going back to the Seahawks game, they're going to be playing against the Vikings. Funny, because we're like, do you want to tank?
The Vikings, the Packers. We're playing against the... Oh, we were going to be playing against the Vikings.
Yeah.
So that's where kind of the lucky part gets into it, because if we win against the 49ers, we play the Vikings at home. Well, hindsight 2020, knowing what we know now, the Vikings went into New Orleans, which is so tough to play in New Orleans. You're in a dome that's loud with crazy New Orleans fans, and you pull out a win. So the Vikings will travel to San Francisco, play the 49ers, and we get the Packers, which I like.
I like the Packers more than the Vikings after watching that game.
Oh, I agree.
And
I agree.
Packers started off hot, and then they just sizzled out.
And they had a fairly easy schedule. If you could bring up the schedule. Obviously, they did play the 49ers, and they got absolutely booty tickled by the 49ers. They did go 13-3, which is, it's hard to say a 13-3 team sucks, but we did just see the New Orleans Saints, who were the same record, lose to the Vikings. Am I a huge believer in Aaron Rodgers? Now, I get it. A lot of people say Aaron Rodgers, best of all time, greatest quarterback. If he was on the same team as all these other guys, he'd be the GOAT. He hasn't been the same since his shoulder injury. He's been a little broken down. And the Seahawks defense is starting to get back into it. They're starting to look better. Jadeveon Clowney's healthy. I think we can give him some trouble.
You were asking for the Vikings schedule, right?
Yeah, just Google their schedule.
They had the 10th hardest schedule.
10th hardest? Well,
but that doesn't make sense, because like the Seahawks, they have the 25th hardest
That's
schedule.
impossible, especially when you play the Rams twice, the 49ers twice, the Cardinals twice.
This must be like a couple years old. Oh, heading into the 2019 season.
Oh, okay. Well, that's heading into, yeah. But things to look out for, obviously. The game's in Green Bay. It's in legendary Lambeau Field. A lot of crazy stuff happens in Lambeau. And to be quite honest, the Packers are a lot like the Seahawks. They get really lucky wins. They get these methodical drives where you don't know what's happening. At the very end, they kind of piece it together with Aaron Rodgers, who they rely on. Same thing we do with Russell Wilson. The only difference between us and them at this moment is the fact that they have a run game in Devontae Adams. and we don't.
And we go down the list. We go, him, nope, him, no. I guess we gotta bring in Lynch.
It was tough to watch the Eagles game because I believe the number was 18 carries for 23 yards total from Travis Homer, and that's not good stats. However, the Eagles do have a very good front seven who do stop the run very well, and they have a terrible back four, which obviously worked because Russell Wilson had 325 yards.
We were talking about it before the podcast began, where we were saying, imagine we had Green Bay Packers tools at Wilson's
disposal.
All
of a sudden you might. Look at DK Metcalf. What he pulled off last week was extraordinary. I mean, there's a reason people are calling him the next Calvin Johnson. He played well for a rookie to break the record for most yards in a game. That's impressive.
That is really impressive.
And Tyler Lockett hasn't gotten going. David Moore looks really good. This is a perfect Seattle game. And if this sets up, the crazy thing about this is the Vikings go into San Francisco and win, and we win. We have the NFC title game at home, which we might spend thousands of dollars just to go to at this point. If the Blazers continue at this streak, I think depression purchasing is coming in soon.
Oh, man. I gained a couple pounds of just binge eating, just trying to comfort my soul, watching the Blazers play.
Yeah, it's tough. But you know what? Let's take a look at this Packers game. It'll be a fun game to watch. I believe it's 4 o'clock on Sunday. I'm excited. Hopefully it's a good one. It's going to be, again, the last game of this weekend. I'm going to watch football all weekend, probably again.
And you'll blow up my phone again.
I will. I think San Francisco has the early game on Saturday. I think it's like 1 o'clock. But it's going to be a fun week.
All right. Let's bring out the bad news.
The bad news Blazers. Alrighty. Well,
they had one of their worst losing streaks, and maybe they had a longer losing skid early in the year, but who they lost to was just so shameful. They lost to the Pelicans, they lost to Jazz, no shame in that so much. They lost to the Lakers, yeah, they're pretty good. Suns is the team I actually had them as a benchmark, like, where are the Blazers?
Right.
And then they lost to the Knicks. Beat the Wizards, but it's the Wizards without Bradley Beal, without John Wall. Everyone on the Wizards is injured right now.
Yeah, Thomas Bryant, Rui Hachimura, like their first 7 players.
Exactly. And then they lost to the Heat. The Heat is on a tear. They're really hot right now. Pun not intended. Pun is intended on that. And then they won against an injured Raptors. They didn't have...
And won very ugly, to be honest.
Yeah. It came down to a 3-second shot from Carmelo Anthony.
Which was pleasant to see.
Yeah.
But...
And, it's like, what do we do here? They're losing to the Timberwolves without Karl Anthony Towns.
Getting blown out by Timberwolves by 20 right now.
Yeah. It's like, what can we do here? I mean, Mario Hezonja is injured now. He fell on his back. And he wasn't even... Scal's out for 4 weeks. He has something in his knee.
Yeah, swelling still, his meniscus. For 4 weeks, he might not be back for a long time.
No, for sure.
From what it sounds like.
And he's a big guy, and bigger guys, we all know, take longer to heal up. And then Damian Lillard looks like he's like hobbling onto the court every night. Whiteside still has concrete in his boots.
Bazemore's running around crazy. McCollum was sick. I mean, we're not making excuses for these guys. The Blazers after tonight will be 16-23.
Yeah.
With the Bucks coming up on Saturday night. So a good chance we go 16-24 in our first 40 games. 41 is the halfway point. I would have never... We'll probably do a podcast maybe where we take a look at our maybe predictions at the halfway point.
Yeah.
We should totally do that and see who we were definitely wrong about some teams. But I don't think there was anyone we were wrong about as much as the Blazers.
The Blazers are literally the biggest
disappointment.
And we got to give it to Roman. He was right about it.
Yeah. I mean...
Or was it Ruben? One of the haters.
One of the haters, yeah. Player haters, as Borat once called them. But, I don't know. I wish I had an easy answer for what the Blazers should do. I mean, you can look at teams like the Knicks right now, for instance, right? Just continue to rebuild. You have nothing to lose. You're losing games. Continue to gather young talent. That's an easy one. You look at teams like Dallas, for instance, right? You're right at the top. You need a third star. All right, cool. Easy to do. It's easy for some teams. The Blazers are in between a rock and a hard place. You're sitting 10th in the West right now after tonight's loss. You have a top 14 pick in the draft. You're in the lottery, so I don't know. We've gone lucky with Portland.
Mm-hmm.
This is not a losing culture. For the past 10 years, the Blazers have been in the playoffs. It's been awesome. It's been great basketball to watch. We've seen Damian Lillard come to this, fruition as an all-star. We've seen LaMarcus Aldridge leave and Dame become even better all-star. We've seen Neil O'Shea try to build a team that made it to Western Conference Finals.
And at the beginning of the podcast, our very first couple of episodes was doing a breakdown, and we talked about the Trailblazers, and we would say Neil O'Shea, he would rebuild on the fly. And I think because he's constantly been rebuilding on the fly, we kind of lost some of our foundation, our footing, and our team has no identity, and it's like just reliant on Dame.
Right.
And at this point, it's like we know what Dame's gonna do. We can counter him. We can double team him. Yeah, he got a little bit better at the double teaming, but it's like we should actually stop.
I think the Blazers got very exposed this year. I think they got absolutely exposed, especially when you look at Dame. This time last year, we were talking about, is this guy a top 10 player in the NBA? Right now, we wouldn't dare bring that up.
No.
And the way he's playing, I wouldn't even. I wouldn't. I just wouldn't. He's not a James Harden. He is not a Luka. He's not a LeBron or AD. He doesn't have that same stature as those guys have.
And that's okay. But we can't just let him pretend that he is.
Right, exactly. And with CJ, I mean, are you really going to call yourself an all-star? Are you going to ask for all-star bids? And we used to say it all the time. Oh, if CJ was in the East, he'd be an easy all-star. We'll prove it. If 2 all-stars are on a team, that should automatically mean playoffs, no matter what. And obviously it hasn't.
And in the past, we can say, oh, well, our wings are, poor performing. Aminu and Harkless, they can't score offensively. The saving grace was that they're defensively, and we even criticized their defensive capabilities.
Looking back at it, no, they were just fine defensively. If you have a guy like Aminu who you can put on Jokic, as much as he gets crossed up by the man
and pump fakes in the stands,
it's at least he was there. The effort was there. He was trying. With Tolliver, with Hazonia, with Carmelo, for crying out loud, and that's the problem when your all stars give up as much as they do.
Mm-hmm.
It's what are you gonna say? Tell your role players.
Like you can't have the constant mindset of we'll get them next time. We'll stop them next time. You can't do that. Over and over again, like watching Minnesota chuck threes and make them over and over again, and then there's like 5 feet of spacing between them.
Between Whiteside and Jang, it's bad. And Whiteside and Bazemore have got to go. You have to. Again, I don't think we said this 2 weeks ago when we did the podcast. The best thing the Blazers could do is kind of keep competing, but gather enough assets to run it back next year. That's the best thing you can do. I don't. They don't want to be in the lottery team. Dame doesn't want to be in the lottery, which at this point, I don't think you should give a crap what Dame wants. No,
it really should be Dame. You'll play your minutes. You'll get 25 per night, and then we're gonna develop our bench. I know this is prime time for you. I know, but we're not getting anywhere. You're gonna get swept.
See, but that's the tough part. Who decides that? Yeah, Neil O'Shea decides that, but we've been letting Neil O'Shea run the show for the past 6 years, and with Paul Allen gone, it really kind of turns into a tragedy. Who do you turn to? Who's the face of the franchise? The owner who says, "Hey, this is enough, man. Blow it up. You're fired. Let's get someone new in here. If you won't blow it up, they will."
I think Jody Allen's growing a lot into her position, and we're gonna figure out what she's gonna do here. With Paul Allen, we would have seen by now a trade, a big move, a firing, a waiver, something. We would have seen something by now.
Yeah, and I think he also. I don't want to say Neil O'Shea took advantage of him where he was at this point in his life, but I feel like Neil O'Shea is a sweet talker, and he is going to sweet talk you into saying, hey, let's not do anything. Let's just get under that tax like we always do. This team will be fine.
Mm-hmm.
And it worked last year. We made it all the way to the Western Conference Finals. But then the Warriors literally played half basketball, like strength-wise, and still beat us. It's frustrating. It's frustrating to go to Western Conference Finals and then be a lottery pick the next year.
It literally seems it was like kind of like that whole Portland Timbers kind of thing where we got to the finals and we barely squeezed in and we got knocked out the first round.
And the NBA is so much more balanced out this year, and it's tough to see. And we can blame this stuff on injuries. Zach Collins, Rodney Hood, Scal, Nurk. 4 guys are out. That's
you can even say 3 of our 5 starters are out.
Yeah. I mean, that's tough. And we can't blame it on injuries, but at the same time, you have to look at it as a blessing in disguise. Because the Warriors right now, you have to take a step back to take 2 steps forward sometimes. That's just the way sports are. That's the way life is, you know? Huge believer in that. But the Warriors were a dynasty this whole decade. They won 4 titles. They looked amazing. Look at them this year. But yet next year, you and I have talked about it. If there was a bet out there where we can bet for the Warriors to win the title next year, I'd do it right now.
Same here. And we were looking at the draft, mock drafts and everything. Who they going to pick up?
James Wiseman, for crying out loud.
He's boating up was projected boating up 30 points per game.
He's out of college now. He's not in Memphis anymore.
Yeah, which is a tragedy because of some guy donating money to his family.
Yeah, I mean the NCAAs. I mean, good for him though. You're out of college. You're gonna be a millionaire.
He didn't bend over for the NCAA. He's like, all right, peace. I'm out. I'm not gonna pay back anything.
I agree with, and that's a whole different discussion about how rigged college basketball is at this point. But
just enough of excuses for the Blazers on why they're why they're so bad. How do we fix it? If Neil O'Shea says I quit, in my place I'm anointing Vasily here. He kind of knows what he's doing.
Jeez, if this was 2K, the Blazers would be winning a championship by now, guaranteed. Vasily stamp mark all over it. No, I that's tough, dude. You can't just put a band-aid over it and say, voila, we're done, you know? But I do think the very first thing you do is stop the bleeding. And I mean, I don't know, man. I don't know. I have this planned out in my head. I have it planned out right here. And just like looking at it, you're like, man, is this really going to make the Blazers better? I think the very step number 1 I have is Whiteside and Bazemore have to get traded. Why? Because those guys are in contracts you can't use anymore, but other teams can. And you don't want to rebuild yet, and we know that. You trade him. You get Kevin Love in here. You get Blake Griffin in here, who's going to be out for the rest of the year. Get him back for next year. Might as well, you know, fulfill the tank. Someone, anyone who's going to be on a long-term contract, bring him in. And next year, run it back. Tell Dame, over the summer, you got to learn how to play defense. CJ, guess what you're doing with Dame? Playing defense. Those 2 guys. You have Rodney Hood coming back. You have Yusuf Nurkic coming back. You have Zach Collins coming back. Anthony is looking great. Anthony is looking a lot better all of a sudden.
Yeah, we give a lot of players crap, and then we'll flip a switch next game when they're having a hot week. But Simons, you can see the growth.
10-15 games, he's been playing really well.
He's been giving you what you want.
Maybe Melo comes back next year. Maybe the guy you traded for comes back. Well, he will come back because, you know, long term, whether it's Julius Randle, Blake Griffin, you know, et cetera, et cetera. That's your best case scenario. Maybe you just tank this year. Maybe you tank because some teams are still in this kind of phase right now where you're like, hey, you know, like the Pelicans still think they can make the playoffs. The Suns still think so. The Kings can. Okay, well, that's 3 teams. Charlotte still can. Maybe you can sneak into the top 10 of the draft. And if you don't want that top 10 pick, you can trade it.
Or there's some teams that are even in the playoffs where they're like, we need that extra punch. We need that punch about like the 76ers. They're like, we need a guard. We need a guard bad. Ben Simmons is not cutting it for us. And
I would love Ben Simmons. I would do anything to have Ben Simmons on the Portland Trail Blazers instead of CJ. I
would do it.
I don't think that trade will ever go 1-for-1. I think it has to be different players in rotation because there's even been rumors of D'Lo getting traded for Ben Simmons.
Yeah, and let me ask you some things, and you tell me which option would you rather choose.
Okay.
All right, because you and me are now on the committee. We're rebuilding, or we're working with the Blazers.
Okay, let's make this clear though. The very first thing we would do is probably fire Neil O'Shea.
Sure, Neil O'Shea gone.
I think I would.
And then we'll be acting general manager.
All right.
Okay.
Do you fire Terry Stotts? That's the first thing. Do you keep Terry Stotts? Because that's your coach. That's the leader of your team.
Terry Stotts just got a
extension.
I would leave him be.
Okay.
Till next season, and if the team does better with the tools we give him, he stays.
I agree. I like Terry. I think he's a good coach, but
all right. We're going to trade Whiteside and Bazemore. Do we bring in assets like picks or do we bring in contracts?
I think you're going to have to bring in contracts because no one's going to trade. A rebuilding team won't trade one of their first round top 10 picks in the NBA draft for just an expiring contract, you know? Because how are you going to convince a free agent to come to your team unless it's just for the pure sake of money? You know, obviously you can throw a huge contract on Bojan Bogdanovic, but is it worth it? You know, You'd rather have that pick.
Yeah, and then for a lot of NBA players, it's like, do you want to play in California, Los Angeles, or do you want to play in Ontario,
Detroit,
yeah,
Cleveland, Chicago.
It's like some
Milwaukee,
no name, like at least like Detroit, Milwaukee. You're like, oh, I heard about that. I know what they're about.
Charlotte.
And you're like, well, about Portland?
Oh, gosh.
Portland, Maine? No. Oh, Portland, Connecticut. No, not that one either. Portland,
Australia. Yeah, and Portland will never get a free agent to save their life. It's the way it is. It's the way it always will be. We go through the draft.
Hey, and if Toronto can do it, then we can do it too.
Yeah, but Toronto's actually a nice city.
Well,
I feel like
a nice city.
If you ever got a family of 8,
That's true.
or you single living downtown, I don't know, one or the other. But
all right, number 2. Do we trade Whiteside and Bazemore for another center and forward?
I wonder if you do trade them together. I don't know. I feel like at this point you could get a lot for Bazemore. I would take the risk of trading Bazemore for Blake Griffin. I would do it.
Well, rumors are that if they want to trade Blake Griffin, they're going to have to attach an asset to move his contract. Because, one, he just had knee surgery. How is it going to go? Is he going to come back?
It's even better for us. If we're going to tank this year, you might as well tank a Blake Griffin in your back pocket.
Yeah, but his contract 2 more years. Is it really worth it?
I think so. I honestly do. What do the Blazers have to lose? You've said time and time again, you're sticking with Dame to the day he is done in this league. You know?
Well, even if Blake Griffin...
But, okay, say his contract isn't worth it. Say we just let Whiteside and Bazemore go.
No, there's no question here. We got to do something with their contract.
But the thing is, the contracts have to be the same for us to even make a trade,
Mm-hmm.
So if we don't do anything with them and we just go into this free agency summer period, we're just going to be like, well, we can't spend any money because we're already at the salary cap. We're a little over the salary cap. The Blazers are the highest paid team in the NBA. People have to realize that. I think that's what a lot of casual fans don't get about the Blazers.
And you and me, we go both browse all the comments. We look at all the rumors.
Some of these trade.
We don't need Andre Drummond or Cat here. We have Nurk.
Cat would be that's an all-star.
I mean, would you give up Nurk for him?
Ooh, that'd be tough.
Yeah, no, it'd be tough, and I don't.
I think I would, just because Karl Anthony Towns is a once in a lifetime kind of NBA player. But if we can give up something else for Cat, I'd play Cat with Nurk at that point. But Blake Griffin, I still think the fact that Detroit wants to give up Blake Griffin so bad and is willing to give one of their assets away also, that's kind of intriguing. Same with Kevin Love.
Well, with Kevin Love, that's an interesting story. You want to talk about that a little bit?
I mean, the dude does not want to be in Cleveland anymore to save his life, yelling at coaches, yelling at players, yelling at teammates. He's done there. And the Cavs have asked Kevin Love, hey, can you help us trade you? They've asked him. So Kevin Love is reaching out to teams trying to get traded. Obviously not that easy. LaMarcus Aldridge asked to get traded back to Portland a couple years ago, and that never happened either. So
no, it wasn't even a couple of years ago. It was at the beginning of the year.
Right. Yeah. And San Antonio actually looks pretty good right now. So good thing he stayed.
All right. Third thing that interim Vasily and Ben, Portland Trail Blazers managers would do.
Hire a new general manager.
Yeah. With CJ's contract that he got this year, would you move him? Do you think the experiment has worked out? Do you think it came to fruition?
For the right player, I'd move CJ for, if you can get a deal done without giving up too much for Ben Simmons or Drew Holiday. Maybe Jaylen Brown is out there. Maybe
Jaylen Brown is an interesting one because he has a poison pill contract where you look at him, he's only getting $7 million right now.
He's kind of the perfect player on the Blazers.
Oh no, he would. But when you trade for him, he starts getting the average amount of money between all of his years.
Maybe the Blazers do this. I'm still gonna hang on the Blake Griffin idea right here. All right. Say, could we do a straight trade for Bazemore and Griffin?
No, we can't. The contracts don't match up. $19 million for $34 million.
Oh my goodness, he makes a lot of money.
That's what I'm saying. Do you really want to take on that contract for
$34 million? So we would have to give up something else with him.
Yeah, we could even do a Whiteside trade, 27 for 34. And the reason why is because it has to be within $5 million of a trade.
But we do have trade exceptions. We do have some of the exceptions, and we do have the disability exception. So the Blazers can't tack those on, and it kind of adds up 2.5, 2.5, 2.5, or how much it is. If you can bring in someone like K Love, Blake Griffin for one of the guys, and with the other guy go get someone else, whether it's Marcus Morris, whether it's Julius Randle, whether it's Bojan Bogdanovic, for crying out loud, something.
Okay.
And here's my other idea. And to be clear, I've written down two ideas. The first idea is being the Blazers tank.
Mm-hmm.
The Blazers simply try and get a top 10 pick range. They try and get Blake Griffin. They try and get Kevin Love. They try and get guys that they can come back next year with the rookie, with the starters, Hood, Collins. Run it back. That's idea number one. Idea number two is keep doing what you're doing. Win a game, lose two, win two, lose three, lose one, win one. You know, kind of this dumb little thing they got going right now. Wait for Nurkic to get back. Now, the problem with this is Nurkic is back after the All-Star break. All-Star break is middle through February, right?
Yep.
So that's past the trade deadline. And the Blazers are going to be running themselves really thin because the trade deadline is at February 6th. Maybe Nurkic has that same kind of season he had 2-3 years ago where he got traded here and the Blazers go on this crazy winning streak. He helped them out like enormously. They make the playoffs and it's all good. And, you know, you win a couple games. They play the Warriors that year.
Mm-hmm.
They won 2 games against them. It was a 1 versus 8 matchup. The Warriors went on to win the NBA title, you know?
Yeah.
So maybe that seems what Blazer fans are happy with. I don't know. We're happy with mediocrity.
No, it just, your second idea is such a gamble because there are so many ifs in that. Yeah. I would rather do the first thing where it's okay if the Blazers suck because the Golden Warriors suck right now. I'm okay if the Portland Trail Blazers suck for a while.
But the thing is, I think a lot of people don't realize is there's 29 other teams in the league, and better things are easier said than done, is what I'm trying to say.
Mm-hmm.
And we can talk about, let's go get Kevin Love. Well, listen, Denver's interested in Kevin Love. The Lakers are interested in Kevin Love. Houston's interested in Kevin Love. Everyone is. You know, it's Kevin Love, for crying loud. Same thing with Blake Griffin. Same thing with Andre Drummond, Julius Randle, blah, blah, blah. You know, teams want to get better and teams want to tank. We're not the only ones. We just happen to be lucky enough to have 2 expiring contracts, a little bit of assets.
Well, not just 2 expiring, 2 fat.
Big.
Thick with 3 C's. Not 2, but 3.
If the Blazers were a rebuilding team and we can get off with, 24 plus 15, $40 million off of the books, essentially, for a free agency period, that'd be amazing. And teams want that.
The weird part is Blazers are kind of getting to a weird spot 2 years from now because we have expiring contracts with our rookies like Anthony Simons, Zach Collins.
And those are also the years that Dame and CJ's extensions kick in, which money-wise, Portland might be screwed for a very long time.
Exactly. And that's why I think that CJ McCollum gets traded.
Maybe. I mean, if the Blazers are about saving money, he's definitely out of here. And I don't think people don't realize that the Blazers are the highest paid team in the NBA. Highest. Above the Lakers, above the Clippers. No one gets paid as much as the Blazers do.
$150 million.
That's $25 million over the salary cap. Over. And that's money that the owner has to pay taxes on, which is 1.5%, I believe, or 2.5.
It goes up.
Oh, it is 2.5, yeah. After a certain amount, it reaches
It's 2. Weird because, they do it by blocks of $5 million. So,
oh, wow.
When it's $5 million over, 1.5, and it goes 1.75, and then it jumps up to 2.25.
Wow.
And so it scales up higher and higher and higher.
So $25 million could easily turn into 34.
Even more.
Jeez.
So, when Rodney Hood went down, I did the math and I texted it to you, and I'm like, I think this number's right. But basically, we got $2 million back on his contract, or reduced, but it actually saved us more around $5 million.
Because of the actual percentages.
And I don't know how, at what point they take that money, consider
I'm sure the owner pays it to the NBA. It's all tax. It's a job. It's a business.
Mm-hmm.
I wish there was an easy solution in Portland. I wish. Things are in such a fog right now with Paul Allen dying, with the team possibly being up for sale in 4 or 5 years. You know, we don't know that.
Yeah, I think in like 2022 their contract ends with the Moda Center, and then a year after it ends with the city.
Exactly, and they have to find new deals with the NBA and the city, which I don't doubt in my mind that the Blazers will come back. It's just an interesting time.
We obviously don't doubt it, but imagine if the Trailblazers suck this year. They suck next year.
Then things really get serious.
And then they suck until that contract ends with the city.
And people like rebuilding teams, man. OKC wanted a team so bad, and Seattle was rebuilding. Their contract ended. OKC has a team now there.
It might be the Seattle Blazers.
I would cry a lot. That'd be the one thing in my life that would probably be top 5 most depressing. That'd be bad. I think for us, the worst part right now is kind of like the waiting game. It's January 10th tomorrow. We still have about another 4 or 5 weeks to wait just for the... Well, not 4 or 5.
No, 4 weeks.
Yeah, 3, 4. Before real moves get made on trade deadline day. And I think it's going to be do or die time for Neil O'Shea. I think if he doesn't do it as he's told by management or whoever, I think this is going to be his last year here in Portland. For sure.
Most likely, yeah. I just ran a question. We didn't go over this at all, but if you had a shopping cart and you had Bazemore and Whiteside in your wallet and picks in there as well, who do you shop for?
Man,
we went over a little bit where we looked at power forwards and small forwards. Who would you look at?
I look at Gordon Hayward. I look at Jaylen Brown also. I look at if Karl Anthony Towns is not happy in Minnesota, I would inquire about him for sure. Julius Randle has to be a guy out there. Maybe it's also a guy like Robert Covington in Minnesota, you know. Another guy that can step up and play that role, who the Blazers almost got last year. And Otto Porter was another guy we almost got. Man, I Blake Griffin, Kevin Love, Gallinari also up there. But I think that shopping cart's getting a little thin right now with all the rumors going around. Yeah. And there's a lot. A lot of teams want a lot of stuff. So
and a lot of teams are pushing because, you know, Golden State Warriors are out only for this year. Next year, different story.
They're back. I don't think I've been as excited for, like, that fan base is very excited for next year.
Oh yeah.
You know, when you have Steph coming back, who's actually been back this year in March, which is what they're saying. Steph come back, Klay Thompson comes back, Draymond Green is back, D'Lo possibly, and if it's not going to be D'Lo, it's going to be another All-Star that they trade for, number 1 pick, and you get all the role players that started all year for you.
Well, imagine this lineup: you got Steph Curry at point guard, you got D'Lo at shooting guard, you got Klay Thompson at small forward, you got Draymond Green as power forward, and you get Wiseman, number 1 draft pick most likely, coming out.
Plus Alec Burks, plus Eric Pascal, Kai Bowman, Damian Lee, all these dudes off the bench.
And then they actually want to bring back Marquise Chris. They didn't want to let him go, but they had to convert Damian Lee's contract.
They have a lot of good young players there who want to play and are scrappy, and that's why they beat some teams.
That's why I want the Blazers to freaking tank, get their bench.
I miss tanking, dude. I miss when we would sit down and get together for the draft lottery and, I wonder who we're going to get. Oh, it's Damian Lillard. We got Damian freaking Lillard. Who is this guy? Let's look at him, blah, blah, this and that.
Let's be honest. You're like, Damian, who's this guy?
You know, yeah, exactly. And when we drafted Greg Oden, that was one of the best days of my life when we drafted Greg Oden. I remember yelling at the TV and like, wow, we got this guy. This guy's going to be the next Shaq. It's awesome. Obviously, that didn't pan out. You know, sue me. But Kevin Durant was available. Sue me. But still.
But if you actually think about it, choosing Greg Oden over Kevin Durant is like the most perfect hindsight 2020 that no one had. And so you can't blame.
Well, someone also did say Luka Doncic was not a first round pick. Looking at you, Rashad Phillips.
Who?
Yeah, exactly.
Who?
Exactly. We were kind of context here. I was watching a YouTube video and a guy on ESPN, also on the Coward Show, Rashad Phillips, basically said that Luka Doncic is A, slower than traffic, B, should not be drafted 14th overall. This guy sounded smart too. He's like, you know, if he went to a team like the Spurs, he'd fit it perfectly. He has this Greg Popovich kind of white guy mentality. He was a little racist. He kind of put out the race card there. It's like, all right, just because Luka's white doesn't mean you compare him to Dirk Nowitzki, you know? And it's kind of like, I don't know. I never got that comparison, but anyway, we kind of called him out on it. Now we're blocked on Instagram, FYI.
Big things coming in 2020.
Big things are coming in 2020, like Luka Doncic, who is
front runner for MVP.
Yeah.
Oh wait, not anymore. LeBron is.
That's the thing. You can never say a top 5 pick is gonna suck. You can never. Mario Hezonja was a top 5 pick. Let that sink in. No one saw that coming. No one. Everyone thought this guy was gonna be insane in the membrane, dude.
Dude, you said that, and I got like tunnel vision. I'm like, holy crap!
Like, who made that pick? The Orlando Magic made that pick, and I was a huge Mario Hezonja fan when he got drafted. Again, maybe it's because I'm a white guy and he's from Europe, just like me. But you know, hindsight 2020, I would have never picked Mario Hezonja ever.
Yeah.
Luka, I'd pick 10 times out of 10.
I mean, you look at that pedigree and you're like, this guy played like what, 8 years in Europe?
Yeah.
In professional league, playing when he was like 16.
He hates losing. Even last night, you know, watching that Nuggets game, you know, Jokic kind of took over there at the end. They lost, but you could see Luka go off the court just ticked off, you know, rips his jersey. It's just one game. It's one game of his season that you lose, you know?
Uh-huh.
And he shows that kind of heart. It means a lot. You can't teach that.
You know, a lot of like our buddies are like this way. After a boxing match, you don't want to watch the guys hug. MMA, some guy gets kicked in the head, and you know, hey, you know, it's just a sport. We're good friends, you know.
Right.
No, you want you want to see someone be like, man, I whiffed that ball at the last end. You know, I want that game back. You know, next time it'll be different.
No, exactly. Well, for instance, it's like even Jimmy Butler last night after the game with TJ Warren. That was just that we need that as sports fans.
Jimmy, yeah.
But there were some good points made on ESPN today by what's his face, the Get Up guy.
I'm blanking here.
I don't know his name either, but he basically says like when you're talking trash, you're talking trash to get someone good. You know, you don't talk nice trash like a Canadian fan here. So Jimmy Butler definitely said something to get under his skin. You know, and I love it. I love it. I love seeing the hate between guys on a court, seeing that old time basketball, LeBron versus Kobe, Larry versus Magic. You know, you love that.
Yeah, it's like, don't try to be like, I'm just gonna get on the court and, you know, do my business on the court. You know, I'm just here to play. I'm here to win. Yeah, I don't care what that guy says. Shaq was amazing to watch. Shaq, and then Charles Barkley.
These guys talk smack, and it left the court because when you love the game, when the game is like your whole life, for these guys especially, it's going to leave the court. Yeah,
and it was kind of like how you and me love the OKC playoff games. Blazers had a grudge against the OKC.
I still hate OKC to this day. I probably will forever.
I still hate Westbrook.
I would never like Russell Westbrook for sure. But you look at someone like Chris Paul, for instance, right? Has all these fans across the NBA, is one of the NBPA union leaders, and the dude talks more trash than anyone combined. He's so petty. You know, he tells on other players for tucking their shirts in.
It's like, he doesn't have his face tucked in.
Oh, that's a technical, and OKC wins the game. That's kind of a petty move.
You know what was petty moves? I'm sorry, but that Raptors-Blazers game, oh my...
The refs.
The refs were blind, stupid, and retarded.
The refs have been
Can I say retarded on the...
At this point, I think the Blazers are pretty retarded, too.
All right.
If someone complains, I will hand out my cell phone number later.
Or emails in the link.
Yeah, you can talk to us on Instagram, and we won't block you. Looking at you, Rashad Phillips.
All right, do you want to end it there?
Yeah, Seahawks. Let's go Hawks.
Let's go Hawks.
Go Hawks. That's what I'm pumped for.
Do you have any money on it?
I don't. That probably will change by Sunday. I'm trying to
How can you bet on the Seahawks? The Seahawks are like the most like unsure.
I will probably do the spread just because the Seahawks will always play a close game, and they're 4-point underdogs right now.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like that's kind of a good bet.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly. I tell myself no, but Sunday's gonna come around like 3:00, and I know I'm gonna look at my brother and like, you got any money on the game? He's like, yeah, you don't. I'm like, oh no, yeah, I do.
Yeah, who you got? All right.
I do the exact opposite of what he does. So
really,
always.
Oh, okay.
Always. But go Hawks.
Go Hawks. Yeah. You think they take it?
I hope so. I hope they scam Aaron Rodgers. I hope they blow up that defense. It's going to be cold. It's going to be 24 degrees in Green Bay. Snow the night before. So who knows what they're going to be playing in. Super low scoring game. Most likely in that kind of weather condition. But Russell Wilson has to have a Russell Wilson game for them to win. And Marshawn Lynch is going to need some carries. But I like them. I like them to play the San Francisco 49ers for the NFC Championship. Ooh.
One apiece.
Dude.
This is for the bone.
Dude, here we go. This is where the money's earned.
All right. That's it, guys. Follow us on Instagram, YouTube, Snapchat, Twitter,
All that good
Kick,
stuff.
Bumble, Grindr.
TikTok.